the inception of non-corporate girls came directly from the things that we experienced. So we felt if we were going through these things, there were other people that also going through these experiences, and how could we connect those people to find either common ground or just understanding, when a lot of us are like the first timers in our families or in our immediate communities to be the first to entrepreneurship, or maybe the only person of color in their environment in a professional realm.
That was Delaila Catalino, co-founder of the Non-Corporate Girls. And this is Epicenter NYC. We connect our communities to news, information, and each other. I'm your host, Ambar Castillo. For years, the traditional career path has followed a familiar blueprint. Get the degree, land the job, climb the ladder. But for many women, especially women of color, that path can feel limiting, exhausting, or simply misaligned with their values. In response, more and more women are choosing a different path, one that's driven by purpose, flexibility, and self-determination. But that shift isn't easy, especially without a roadmap. That's why today's guest built one from scratch. Ayanna Dutton-Diaz and Delaila Catalino started the Non-Corporate Girls podcast with a Google Doc and a shared frustration around toxic work environments. What began as a side project became a platform. Now with over 100 episodes, a consulting arm, and a growing community of like-minded women. Today, I sit down with Ayanna and Delaila to learn more about how they turn a moment of solidarity into a movement. Before we jump in, a quick message from our team.
Hi, I'm Ayanna from the Epicenter NYC team with a quick health update. Flu, RSV, COVID, and stomach viruses are creating an epidemic, making public spaces, including schools, virus hotspots. Watch for norovirus symptoms like vomiting, RSV's sneezing and congestion, and the flu's high fevers and fatigue. Hydration, rest, and staying home when sick help keep families healthy. Protect your community. Wash your hands, clean surfaces, and keep up with vaccines. Need more info? Email hello@epicenter-nyc.com or text 917-818-2690.
Now back to the show. Here's my conversation with Ayanna and Delaila.
My name is Ayanna Dutton-Diaz, and I'm co-founder of Non-Corporate Girls, LLC.
And I'm Delaila Catalino, and I'm also the co-founder of Non-Corporate Girls, LLC.
Could you tell me about your business?
Yeah, so our platform is a lifestyle media platform really focused on professional and entrepreneurial wellness. Podcasting is like our forefront. It's kind of the lever we've used to kind of like, execute on things. But the brand itself is really about figuring out how people redefine how they pivot in their world. Whether you're a corporate professional, whether you're an entrepreneur, it's really how do you fuse that together and really create a life by design. And we like to say redefining how you pivot. And so that's kind of like where we stand. I think at the core of everything we do is really about that community. So how do we take these different levers that we have or pillars of these people and really kind of bring them together in a community forum to just thrive in excellence?
And I'll add to that. The inception of Non-Corporate Girls came directly from the things that we experienced. So it wasn't just an idea that came out of thin air. These were like our lived experiences. And we felt if we were going through these things, there were other people that also going through these experiences. And how could we connect those people to find either common ground or just understanding, when a lot of us are like the first timers in our families or in our immediate communities to be the first to entrepreneurship or the first to join a C-level suite job, or maybe the only person of color in their environment in a professional realm.
Yeah, and how did you guys meet? I understand there was some fashion involved.
The short of it is Delaila and I have known each other for 10 plus years at this point. I don't even know. We met during Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, and we were both working behind the scenes. She comes from the beauty world. I come from the fashion world. And there was always a powwow before a show. And so her and I were in a group. There was a lead of the group who said something that wasn't funny. And her and I looked at each other. You know, when you make eyes with someone across the room, you're like, we kind of get it. We got it. We were the only people of color. And we were like, that wasn't funny. And so we just bonded over that. After, like, backstage, her and I just started talking. We realized we had so many similarities. And so we started bonding. We became accountability partners. And that took us through a couple of years. Then fast forward, we are both in jobs. She happened to be working in a fashion corporate job, and I was in a beauty corporate job. So, like, we switched, which was interesting. And we hated it. It was toxic as hell. And we were really struggling with that. But because we were accountability partners, we always like had someone to talk to about these things. Fast forward, we ended up going to a fashion event that I didn't even want to go to. And she forced me to go to. We went to it. And you know when someone asks you, so what do you do? And we're like, oh, the spiel. So we're saying this whole thing. And then I joke, I was like, we're kind of like the non-corporate girls. And then the girl was like, oh my God, never heard that. I'm that too. And me and Delilah looked at each other and was like, oh my God, like, is this who we are? And so a light bulb went off. The next day, her and I jumped on G-Chat because that was our thing. We started coming up with segments, booking rooms. And the next thing you know, the next day we were in like a liquid space room, which is a throwback, and had our phone. We started recording. And then the rest is kind of history. We've like evolved since then. There were a lot of like hoops and ladders, but we knew in that moment that there was something here and we couldn't be the only ones that felt like this. So it just kind of like worked.
And when you talk about hoops and ladders, what were some of those challenges when you first started the business?
Not knowing how to start one, Amber. Like, at that point, I don't think I got in my MBA just yet. I think I was probably completing that. No, I'm lying. I did have my MBA, but I still hadn't put into practice like my learnings. We both have our MBAs. But when it came to a business, we kind of went with instinct. So it was a lot of learning while tripping and falling and figuring it out as we go.
And I'll also add that we started out as a podcast, right? When we started out, honestly, it was a hobby. We didn't really think about it as a business because we just knew that we needed to vent and we were each other's accountability partners, and there had to be a community of people that felt this way. We didn't actually start thinking about it as a business until we had a situation where someone helped us think about it as a business. And then we were like, oh, shoot, like there's more to this. Like we could actually be this niche, all these things. So we're already coming into it not knowing. We didn't know how to start a podcast. There were so many things we just didn't know. And we, like Delilah said, it was a day-to-day thing. Like it was a day-to-day of failing and picking ourselves up and being like, okay, let's do this, let's do that. And it was just, it was a lot of failing.
What were some of those tools that helped you figure it out, or maybe mentors or folks maybe who had been there a little bit?
The mentor, I'll start by saying the mentorship thing was hard because, and we talk about this a lot on the pod, when we were growing up, we didn't even know what mentors were. Like we didn't have access to that. And then when you think about being in entrepreneurship, you're looking for other founders, right? Where are they? Like that wasn't a thing. And so we tried really hard. We would go to like groups and events, but we still weren't finding our people, honestly. And then the people we did find, they didn't want to share. They didn't want to help. They were kind of like, we all have to just figure these things out. We got to continue to push hard and all these things. It wasn't like, let's help you so that you don't have to do what I did, And that was another reason why every time we went to these events and we felt that way, we were like, this is what we're leaning into in our community, in our group, in our brand. We want to be the catalyst to help people because we didn't get that. So it was hard. We didn't have mentors and things like that. I think when you think about tools and resources, it was a lot of Googling, really being creative and innovative with our approach all the time. And I would say the biggest thing is pivoting. There's so many things we didn't know. And so when we would do it, if it would fail, we're like, okay, just because it failed doesn't mean we're failures. It's like, how do we think differently about this?
I was just going to say, switching up the approach also because in the beginning, it was so heavily focused on just the podcast, but we bring so much more to the table. The podcast was like our segue in to this space, but we knew we wanted to contribute more just from our expertise and our background. So this is what helped to support the evolving of the brand of Non-Corporate Girls.
Yeah, what does being a small business owner mean to you, especially given that very personal connection? And
it means doing it through the fear, doing it being broke. It's so humbling. In my mind, I always thought I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I did. But what has changed over time has been my reasoning. My reasoning at first was there's not opportunities that I want that are being given to me, so let me create them. And so I felt like I was on fight or flight mode. And now that I have a better footing financially, I know it's a passion of mine and it's something that I want to contribute back to the world. And so like the intent behind it is a little bit different. And so how you approach it is a little bit different, because although not saying that we don't want to be successful, of course, everybody does, but we're pacing ourselves for when that's to come. Has to suppose previous times it felt a much more need to be successful and make profit immediately, because this is what I'm counting on and relying on for my livelihood. So I feel like when you're not in that space where like you can really give it the attention it needs without this like frantic feeling, you show up differently to the business.
Yeah, I echo everything she said. And I think just the marriage of like purpose and passion is really what's going to take you through as a small business. I feel like I was always meant to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't know what that looked like. And me and Delilah have started other things as well that, just didn't really take off. And so the fact that we're still with this is just like mind blowing, because every single time we think about, do we want to let this go? Is this not going anywhere? Something happens and we're like, no, this is where we're supposed to be. So I guess it's kind of a calling. And again, it's really figuring out like, what's your purpose? What's the impact you want to have? And as purpose driven individuals, I think that we lean so much into this world because this is who we are. Like, we are these people. And so we know what we were lacking. We know what we can bring to the table. How do we not create a space for other people to do that? And so being a small business owner, I think is special because you really have to have a passion for this. You really have to see this through. But also going back to that purpose part, it's really about what's the impact? What's the end goal? Like what's the North Star of what are we striving for?
I know you guys have spoken about this throughout, but if you could put it in one sentence, what's the need you feel in your community?
Navigating spaces you're not familiar with.
I think I would go back to kind of like our tagline is really redefining how you pivot, which is very similar, because I think that a lot of us feel like we have one track, we're supposed to do this, you're supposed to flourish in this space. And it's like, you are a multi-hyphenate individual. You do not have to just be one thing. You are not your role, you're not your title. And so how do you navigate all of those spaces, all of those layers of you in the ways that suit you? And I think a lot of us don't have the space to do that.
And what do you think is the community's role in your business?
To feel seen and be seen is the biggest one, because a lot of the people we have conversation with and get learnings from is feeling like, wow, you guys get it. You understand me. Like a lot of people don't have that support, whether it's in their immediate family or even in friend groups. In some friend groups, there's other types of successful, however people define that for them, but not oftentimes enough entrepreneurs within your like immediate space. And so you go seeking for this bigger, larger community where we might not be pursuing the same type of business, but we grapple with the same type of challenges. And so when you come together and you feel seen, it kind of like re-energizes you, like, okay, I'm not the only one going through this. This happens to other people. These are other people's pain points. It's possible to overcome. So I think it's to be seen and feel seen.
And I think that the way we've always kind of bucketed that is we are a digital diary. So literally we are a reflection of what we know people are looking for. And we're literally just sharing our experiences and talking about the things that people are looking for, that they don't always get. And so that's how that they get to be seen and heard. And we're just giving them the space to do so.
I'm just wondering, if at some point it became clearer how to make this sustainable.
That's a great question, because our pivots have lent to that. The way we've evolved and looked at the business and categorize it in the way we have has been with that intent and that mindset. Here are the aspects of the business that we can monetize off, where it's just not the podcast itself. But we have the Art of series, which is like an educational component, almost like our version of a master class. We have the hub that's launching, where we'll have like experts share their knowledge. And so we're developing that. And then content partnerships and brand partnerships. We wasn't at the very beginning. That was not like the mindset of, we was, again, solely relying on the podcast itself. And, that takes, again, visibility, a lot of marketing for people to be downloading, listening to the podcast, for us to then like pitch ourselves for like those kind of sponsorships. So all of this has been in tandem, because we can't put one focus in one area versus the other. So it's just like being adamant of growing these legs so that they can kind of like take off on their own.
And the other thing too is positioning ourselves as talent, which is something that we didn't always do in the beginning, which is weird because you think we have a podcast, but we didn't think of ourselves that way. And now with just the space of thought leadership and knowing that we are thought leaders in our own space, we're trying to really be intentional about how we position that, because the more people know about us, the more people will know about the brand. And so that's also been like an intentional strategy of how we're trying to market ourselves as well to help amplify all of these other things that we're working on.
Got it. And then in terms of the timeline, do you remember around when you started doing more of these intentional partnerships or other sources of funding?
I think maybe like 2021, 2022, like as we moved through the pandemic and things changed a lot and things went up very digital, right? Like it just helped us think a lot differently about how we show up and what the community, you asked, like, how do we know what the community need? They told us, right? And so those things really help. So I would say like 2021, 2022, we started really changing our strategy, because that was also when we did a huge revamp on our website and really changed. Delaila said, like, we were so focused on podcasts that we weren't focused on brand. And so we did a whole overhaul of like our language, how we're talking about ourselves. What does the brand look like during that time?
What are your future plans or vision for the business?
Yeah, definitely like media, TV. Also, we're gonna write a book. We've been talking about this forever, so there's a book. We want to do a TED talk, so that could be in the works. And I think, I think at some point we want to have something in like brick and mortar. Don't know what that looks like, whether it's some type of co-working space or some type of community building space, but something like that, because we navigate so much better in person. Like our personalities shine more. And so we want to be able to bring community where we are. So
what advice do you have for other small business owners or aspiring solopreneurs?
Connect with us. We have resources. Listen to our episodes. We have a library of over 100 episodes across different subjects, including finance, entrepreneurship, networking. So I think Non-Corporate Girls in itself is a valuable resource.
I will also say a lot of fear that people have about anything is just starting, right? And just take it from us and everything we've said today. Just start. Like nothing has to be perfect. It won't be perfect. You will fail lots of times, and that's okay. Fail quick, fail fast, but just start, because a lot of times people have these ideas and these things or these passions, and no one will ever get to hear it because they're just so afraid of starting. And I'm just grateful that we started. It was super messy, but we started.
Yeah. And you guys had mentioned before also, like, one of the things y'all had in common was being the first in your family to do something like this, right? Can you speak about maybe some of that mentality that you grew up with, and also like how your family feels about it throughout this journey?
Yeah, so I'm Latina, Puerto Rican and Dominican, grew up in Brooklyn. Education was definitely always important in my family. So education, but sometimes you don't realize your family could put their own glass ceiling on you, right? Because my parents' generation is like, you go to school, you get a job, and you stay in that job until your retirement, you're comfortable with your 401k. That is not the same for my generation. It's like we jump from job to job. We're trying to find our passion. There's many things that excite us. We're in the age of technology. So we already had so many different things available to us that our parents didn't, and navigating that for the first time, right? Because we're the internet kids. So utilizing that space to like advance, that was something new for us. So there was like the generation after us can use us as a blueprint per se, but we didn't have that. We were navigating that space brand new and figuring it out and seeing how we could utilize it to get to the next level. Again, that goes back to us learning as we go, seeing what other people are doing, and connecting with like-minded individuals. In this case, me and Ayanna connecting, because I don't have other entrepreneurs in my family.
So for me, I'm Afro-Panamanian, grew up in Brooklyn. Like Delilah said, first generation of a lot of different things. Like, I mean, a lot of people in my family don't even have an MBA, right? And so like there's different things like that I've just kind of excelled in. But to your point, like my sister has her master's, like just helping the younger generation figure that out. My mom has no idea what I do to this day. She doesn't understand it. My mom also doesn't understand the fact that I hop from job to job. And mind you, hop is not even the right word. I give jobs 2-3 years. That's too little bit, right? My mom doesn't get that context. But what I do love, and part of it is NCG, like NCG gave me the confidence to really lean into who I am in a sense, because being an entrepreneur spirit or being someone who is a multi-hyphenate, I get to explore different layers of myself. And I think that when we do that, we give others permission, right? And so just thinking about our generation and cousins and just people who are younger, I mentor a lot of different people. They get to see what it's like for you to brand yourself and not put yourself in a box because the world tells you need to. So whether you decide to be an entrepreneur or not, you still get to be a full person. You still get to explore all the things. And that's what we've done. That's what the brand shows. And so that's what's been really helpful for me and the people in my life. The older generation will never quite understand, and that's okay. Because part of that too is that a lot of us, especially the older generation, are leaning into roles and titles. And this generation is leaning into impact and purpose. And when you figure out what that looks like for you, you can take that anywhere you want to go versus just being siloed to one role, one industry, one title.
What brings you the most joy in your business?
Ooh, ideating, like the ideas that we have. I think I am an idea machine. We have so much that we know we can create with not corporate girls being the vehicle. Of course, the execution is what gets a little challenging, and I still believe it is possible with, the right parameters set in place eventually, and we'll see them come to fruition at some point in the future. But yeah, what brings us joy is the ideating of like what we want to bring to our community, what we want to create.
And I will say, I echo that, but also working together. I feel like, and we've been in business for quite a while where we've seen so many partnerships dissolve. And I'm just so fortunate that we are just so here that like we just work so well together. And I think that's joy. Like if I could walk into an office every day and Delaila is my coworker, that's fun for me.
And where can folks find you?
So www.noncorporategirls is our website. Noncorporategirls.com is our website. You can find everything there. Our Instagram is @noncorporategirls. Our LinkedIn is @noncorporategirls. And our YouTube is @noncorporategirls. So everything is pretty clear.
And please, please, please sign up to our newsletter. We have so much insight and information that we share through there. And it's what we own. So we always want to be able to contact and engage with our community. So definitely sign up for our newsletter.
And is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to share about like yourselves, the journey, the business?
The only thing I would add is just going back to that talent piece again. Delaila and I are really looking to be on more stages this year. So if anything resonates with you and you want us to be on some stages, please let us know. We also love facilitating. So let us know if there's a workshop you want us to lead. We've created our own curriculum on the art of podcasting. We really have tapped into a lot of different things. So let us know. We just want to be able to share more.
Feel free to reach out, even if there's something bubbling and you don't know exactly how to fully execute or flesh it out. We can be thought partners on that to bring some idea to fruition.
If you're rethinking what success looks like or dreaming of building something outside the corporate mold, check out the Non-Corporate Girls podcast, linked to in our show notes. You can also find Ayanna and Delaila on Instagram @noncorporategirls or visit their website, noncorporategirls.com, to explore consulting, workshops, and more. And if today's episode resonated with you, share it with a friend. We'd also love to hear from you. Leave us a review or reach out to us at hello@epicenter-nyc.com. That's all for today. Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting us as we do our best to support our community. We couldn't do it without you. For more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at epicenter-nyc.com. Our intro music is All the Pretty Horses by Karavika. You can find more of their music on their website, linked to in our podcast description.